Hello, welcome back. This is chapter 3rd, two stories about flying, and today I'm going to discuss story number 2, The Black Aeroplane, written by Frederick Forsyth. And now I'm going to explain first page number 37 to you. So here we go. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and the stars were shining in the clear sky above me. So, it was a night setup. The author was flying back from France to England. He was returning to his home, that is England. It was night flight, night setup, and how the surrounding describes. So the story begins with the setup around the author as he was making his journey back to his home. So the moon was coming up in the east. Moon was emerging in the east behind me, but he was flying towards west, so the moon was appearing behind him, emerging behind him, and the stars were shining in the clear sky above me, and the stars were shining above him, because it's a cockpit. From there, since it's a glass cockpit, so from there everything is visible. He could see things above, and the stars were all shining in the clear sky. The sky was pretty much clear, and behind him the moon was emerging, the moon was coming up. So this is the setup here. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone, high up above the sleeping countryside. So there was no trace of a cloud. Not a single cloud was there in the sky. He was happy to be alone, high up above the sleeping countryside, and he was flying alone. He was going with his flight, with his plane alone. He was all alone, and he was happy, quite happy, because everything was quite normal and quite comfortable for him. And he was flying above the sleeping countryside. That is, the rural setup was there under him, not behind, but under him. The rural setup was there. That is, the villages. There was spread of countryside, village area, and not city was at the side. He was passing through a countryside, village area, and he was enjoying his flight. I was flying my old Dakota airplane over France back to England, and he was flying his old Dakota airplane. The name of the fighter plane was Dakota airplane, or here it is, say Dakota airplane, as is described in this story. And he started his flight. He took off from France and was returning to England, as described here. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. And he was just dreaming of his holiday, holiday that he was going to get after touching down, after he returned to his base, and from there he would get his holiday, since maybe that he was on duty to France, and returning from there he was supposed to get some holiday. So was dreaming of the holiday and the time that he would be able to spend with his family together. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. And then he looked at his watch. It was it showed 1:30 in the morning. That is, it was still light dark, but since it was the next day, scientifically, or say in some other ways, geographically, scientifically, or by the modern ways, modern methods, and modern systems. So he says 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris Control soon, I thought, as I looked down past the nose of the airplane. I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. So he was just flying over on the countryside, and then he noticed the lights of city lights was seen from the say the tip of the nose of the airplane. That is, just past the nose of the airplane, he could see the lights of the city. And there he realized that he should now call the control room, that is the Paris control room, and ask for the instruction, ask for the navigational channels and navigational routes. I switched on the radio and said, Paris Control, Dakota DS088 here. Okay, then he switched on the radio. Radio means the communication system. So he switched on the communication system and then first introduced himself, saying that, saying Paris Control, just inquiring if it was Paris Control. Paris Control, Dakota DS088 here. He was informing, giving his intro, his introduction, that he was, or it was DS088, Dakota DS088. That is, Dakota DS088 was making this call to the Paris control room. Can you hear me? He asked. I'm on my way to England. Over. And then he said, can you hear me? I'm on my way to England, that I am going back to England. And by saying this, he said, over. This is a protocol, a system of radio communication by which the one who is communicating, or both the parties communicating, have to say over as his information or things from his side gets over. When the person has nothing more to say, he has to say over, so that the other becomes clear that there is nothing more to be received from the other side. So he said, it's over, I'm returning to England. The voice from the radio answered me immediately, DS088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS088, over. Then there came the instruction from the control room, informing DS088 to take a turn 12 degrees west. That is, he was asked to take a turn to 12 degrees west from his position, from his current position. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and the last full tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. And then he checked few of the things, few of the control panels, systems on the control panel. That is, it checked the map, checked the compass, and then as the full tank, the primary full tank was almost over. So he switched on to the second full tank, and then took a turn to 12 degrees west towards England. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight, and then he just thought of the breakfast he was going to get, because he was sure that he would be touching down by the early morning hours that is say 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So he would be right there for the breakfast, and then he thought of the good big English breakfast, that the breakfast, the big or the nice breakfast that he was going to get at home. It was a nice flight. Everything was easy and quite fine. So he was enjoying the flight. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. Now, suddenly the clouds appeared. It took the turn 12 degrees west, and then hardly he moved a few hundred, say, kilometers, or say a few kilometers in that way. Then came the black clouds, appeared black clouds, and when he looked back, Paris was 150 kilometers behind him. The clouds, okay, storm clouds. It was not ordinary clouds, not white clouds, but storm clouds, dark, thick and dark clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky, and they appeared to be like say black mountain, huge black mountain standing in front of him across the sky. That is crossing the sky. That is parallel or in front of him, say. So that was the situation. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. So he then analyzed the situation. He made his calculations, and he realized that he could neither go above the clouds, that is going very high up and escaping the clouds from above. He couldn't do that. He had not that option. He didn't have that choice. And then the other choice, that is going either from the right side or the left side of the cloud, even that was not a possibility, because he didn't have enough of the fuel to do so. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. Now he thought that the best option before him was to return to Paris. That was the best option before him. But then the next thought came, that was about the breakfast, and then the spending holidays with the family, and that took control of his brain, of his heart, and he could not return to Paris. Say that that grabbed his attention, that he should be back to home for the breakfast and for the holidays with the family. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. He said, no, I must return to my home, and so he said, I'll take the risk. He decided to take the risk and entering the cloud, decided to enter the cloud, go inside the cloud. I thought, but I wanted to, okay, so I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the cloud, a storm, and then he moved the airplane straight into the storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the airplane. So he was now inside the clouds, and suddenly everything turned dark, turned black. It was impossible to see anything outside the airplane. Nothing was visible. Everything was dark. Everything was black. The old airplane jumped and twisted in the air. The old airplane, it was old one, so the old airplane just jumped and twisted, turned in the air. So this is all for now. Thank you.